What's up, everyone? Surprise Party Wagon podcast with not Steven. We've got Ace from Ramen Toy. What is going on, Ace?
Hey, Gary. Thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I appreciate the invite. And what's going on is that I'll be going to New York Toy Fair in just under 7 days. And I'm excited to talk to you about a project that we have. Yeah.
So unfortunately, I'm going to be in Pennsylvania next weekend, the same weekend as New York Toy Fair. So I'm not going to be able to make it. Very upset about that, but maybe next year. But yeah, we've got something fun to talk about today. You probably saw the thumbnail. We are going to go in depth with the Super M.U.S.K, the sewer, the Musk itself, and then the street scene. So if you watch us, if you've watched any previous Party Wagon podcasts, I have been very critical about this. Everybody calls me the NECA shill. All of my friends at NECA. I got 2 sewer layers already down here. I actually got 2. I never got Donnie's lab. I just got 2 sewer layers because they're like, you can put your van in it. So I got 2 of those. But we did talk a little bit with Steven. I did with Steven on a previous podcast. And one of the things I talked about was this thing has taken forever. And do people still care? And what are people saying about it? And like for me personally, like it kind of died down a little bit. The more I think about it, it's one of those things where it's been gone for so long that people may have forgotten a little bit about it. But the more we talk about it, it's firing people back up because you appeared with Nostalgia Unboxed and Mad Hatter the other day on Friday on their morning show, and I was like, all right, they locked me back in. So I got really excited about it. And then Matt Hatter's like, hey, want to do a thing with Ace? I'm like, yeah, of course, let's do it. And I was super excited. So here we are. And apologies, I am blown out really bad right now. My camera is just doing its own thing. But I'm glad you're able to join us, Ace. And it's morning over there, right?
That's right. It's actually Sunday morning at 9:30 a.m. Sunday. Yeah.
Yeah. So yeah, it's I'm in New York, so 8:30 here p.m. So I've had a full day and you're just waking up. So let's talk a little bit
Oh, by the
about.
way, Gary, if you are really in New York, which I believe you are, then we
Yeah,
should
I am.
just hook up sometime during the duration when I'm at the New York Toy Fair, right?
So since I'll be in Pennsylvania, I will be in like
Oh,
the Philadelphia area. I can
okay.
actually make it up, but I'm running a convention all weekend. I'm gonna be at a convention
Okay, okay.
called ZoloCon, and
That's right.
yeah, it
Okay.
just happens to hit the same weekend. And I'm like, and I was supposed to go this year, and I was like, that's kind of a bummer, but
Okay, I'll catch you at New York Comic Con then in
yeah,
October.
I'll be at New York Comic Con this year
Okay.
for sure. So
And by then we'll have the mask available, at least the test shots or the pre-production samples, definitely.
definitely, yeah. So I'm really excited about it. I've been able to play with test shots. I get samples and stuff all the time, so I get to see what the test shots look like and feel like before the real thing comes in. And it's crazy the changes that get made on some of them, and then it's also crazy when the factories just nail it. So I want to talk before we start talking about and showing off what our options are and everything. One thing I wanted to talk to you about was really build quality. So one of the things that was addressed on the Mad Hatter the Johnny Nostalgia Near show was the quality of the top piece, right? So we've got an issue with foam core bowing with the NECA thing, which I'm I'm looking at 2 that are bowing right now, and I've got a lot of stuff on top of it. But you've decided to go with plastic, and that was one of my concerns. But you've also gone in and put some reinforcement in there. So I'm going to bring that up, and we will talk about that in a second. So what were some of the struggles or some of the things you had to do to figure that whole thing out to make sure that it worked out properly?
Yeah, Gary. So the important thing for us is always about the product's structural integrity, whether it is a figure that we're doing, a vehicle, this diorama. It's all about making sure that the final product in the hands of the consumer works. So the street section on top of this sewer section obviously needs to be supported because it's hollow at the bottom, right?
Right. Yep.
And initially, what we did after we did the presentation of the prototype back in 2023 around October, September, October, because we really got to work very fast after PowerCon. Myself already seeing the actual NECA sewer layer in the flesh at PowerCon, it got me ideas and it got me really working fast. So we were pretty expedited towards the drawings and prototype in September, October. But at that point of time, I only had prototypes. So prototypes actually meant 3D printed materials.
Yeah.
So printed materials are not sturdy enough as the actual ABS. So what I
Right.
did was I put everything on hold to tool the actual flooring of the whole product. So I did not tool everything yet, just the flooring. So after I did that, I actually did a demonstration on our YouTube channel with a simple shot of me showing me putting a ramen racer on top of the street, and it didn't bow or
Yep.
bow,
Which we
right?
will see a little later on. While we're
Right.
talking, I'll make sure I play that.
Right. So, that actually gave me the confidence to go ahead to do it. But the secret sauce to that was because we added a actual steel rod, two of them inside the street section, so that actually forms the support. Otherwise, even if it's ABS plastic, it will still bow due to the weight of physics.
Right.
So
It's
that was
just
solved
how
using
just how it
the
works.
Yeah, so that was solved
Yeah.
using the metal rods. But hindsight is always 2020, and I believe that everything happens for a reason, right? Why am I embarking on this? Because the fans mentioned that the product that's in the market is a bit too expensive, etc., etc. So we had a bit of a stack, right? A speed bump in our production. I'll get to that later. But that actually allowed me to, come up with this idea that, hey, why not, instead of putting the pipe layout that is along the walls, let's just do it across so that we have a good support at the back, which is the wall itself
Exactly.
supporting the street section, and then that nice little uh, solid pipe on the front, which is really solid, by the way.
Yep.
And that creates the support needed, and there's no need for the extra metal rods. So yeah, that was part of the process that we went about. In fact, we're always about Kaizen. Every single step of the way when I'm making a product, whether it's this diorama, whether it's a figure, I'm always making changes. And I'm making changes based on the feedback that I receive once I show what we've done, and whatever that is logical, that's like, hey, this guy has made a good point, we will try to incorporate it into the product. And that's what we did.
Yeah. And so what's really good about that, and we're gonna come from the point of view, we're gonna say it a lot during this, is the NECA shield over here. I love everything they do. Is that the current complaint with them is that they don't listen to the consumer when there are issues. So people have been complaining about shipping prices, but then shipping prices just keep going up with them. People are complaining about pricing in general, and it seems like pricing is going up with them. And coming from manufacturing myself, uh, we're both very small businesses, big footprint, small business, uh, working efficiently, is that we do have the ability to listen to the feedback. And what our customers and our friends and our acquaintances don't seem to understand is that when they say something that they don't like about something and we do make the change, like that does push stuff back, and it's for the better. And Ace and I just recently, like, we met. It's funny, we're joking. We actually met at PowerCon 2023, but we hopped on a call yesterday and we talked a little bit more and talked about what I do and what he does. But we do a lot of shoes. Like, I work for a shoe company called Belair's, and one of our biggest products we've ever done was something called a bull mag. Ace, are you familiar with Back to the Future?
Oh, Back to the Future, yes, definitely.
So we did a shoe based off of the Nike Air Mag, but we called it the Bull Mag, and it was a more
Mm,
wearable shoe. It lights up. It's got glow in the dark soles. It just looks better. But we released them in March, and we were supposed to ship them by August. And what happened was we didn't get shipping until December
I see.
because of issues with the foam molds. And this is something that production happens. And we don't, you never see this. Essentially, we had foam molds made for these shoes, and the material they used was scuffing up too easily. So when you wore them, they were getting like nicks and dings, and chips were being broken off. So our factory redid them with like a silicone rubber replacement. And now, when you've paid $600 for a pair of shoes, you're getting a premium shoe. You had to wait an extra 3-4 months to get them, but we didn't want to send you something bad. And when I got thinking about that before I agreed to do this, that's kind of where I see this, is that good things have to take some time, and it's up to all of us to reinvigorate the community. And if you don't know about MUSK and you don't know about the price, I've actually got semi goosebumps talking about it right now. You're not going to be able to see it, but the pre-order, like the early in pre-order price for the whole thing. By the way, this is only half of it that we're looking at on the screen. If you want to do the whole thing, it is insanely cheap, like when it comes to pricing. So, like I told Ace, like I'm back to being in on this, so I'm really excited. So we talked a little bit about the challenges of the Boeing, and I think that's an incredible thing to talk about. But when it comes down to the plastics, right? The plastics that you're using, one thing I've noticed that you're doing on yours, based on this render, that's not being done on that wasn't done on the NECA one, is that you have both walls molded.
Yes.
So it's not a hollow, empty wall. I mean, I'm assuming the inside's a hollow because you don't want to have that much plastic weighing it
Yeah.
down. But you've got two walls on this, so you can display this however you want. Was that always a decision you had? Was that always a goal you had, was to do both walls, or was it just something you're like, this works, let's just do it?
Well, to be quite fair, the back side that's facing the wall, that's hollow. Okay, so
Okay.
what you don't see, the back side of it, is exactly how NECA does it. It's hollow. And I guess the train of thought for any manufacturer would be to try to reduce costs, because another part is another tooling.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not trying to throw shade about NECA reducing costs. I'm just saying that as a whole, when you're making a product, just like Hasbro's Transformers, you see like hollow arms and hollow legs,
Yeah.
because if you have another part that covers it, it's another mold. So it's all, I guess, decisions on the manufacturer, what they want to do. And for us, it's very simple. When I saw what I saw at PowerCon, that stood out to me immediately. And because I can understand if this thing is propped against the wall and you can't see behind, and that's fine. But on the sides, you can see it clearly. So I think the first step for me to actually cover that would differentiate our product from the NECA one, even
Yeah.
though it cost us another tooling, but it has to be done because, again, I try to be instilled and inspired by great people like Steve Jobs, who explained his story about how he was told that you got to paint the back side of the door as good as the front side of the door. So that was part of the mentality towards this decision.
Yeah, and I respect that, because like you could have easily, we're looking at this underground part of it. Like, you could have easily just made 4 of the same pieces or 2 of the same pieces and called it a day. But instead, if everybody's looking at this right, you have 4 unique pieces here. Those are 4 different molds. Am I right? Because
That is correct. Yes.
yeah, and in manufacturing, that means that you had to pay to have those molds made. That's a lot of money. That is a crazy amount of money that people don't realize. And in my opinion, that's respect. That is respect to the consumer when they see all these different molds. Like, if you're not picking it up, there's fucking lights on this thing. There's
Yeah.
lights on the back of this wall, everyone. Like, we're paying all these third-party creators. Like my buddy BJ goes by Avionics. He does 3D printing, and he puts lights on stuff, on like the current NECA dioramas. Like, it's already here. I don't got to do that. So I don't need to worry about lighting. And that's one of the problems I have with my layers. I actually have an LED strip going over the underneath my foam core so that I can light in it because it's dark. And there's no light source. So I think that's an incredible design. I know we've beaten around the bush way too much on this. Let's just, if you haven't seen it, this is the Super M.U.S.K, everyone. This is the full shebang. This is essentially 4 individual dioramas in one. Now, one of the things I've noticed on this, I want to ask you, Ace, is I see that in the middle there is essentially one wall. So will this ship with one wall in the middle, or are we going to be getting a second wall so you can split up the sewers?
So initially, you're only getting one wall because that is the premise of this product, right? You
Perfect. Yeah.
build the entire juggernaut. And then we were thinking about offering modular parts down the line so that if you buy an extra wall, you can split this into 2 separate pieces if you want. But now trying to convince people that you should get it, we're throwing in the 4th wall as mentioned in the live stream with Matt Hatter and Nostalgia Unbox just, I think, 36 hours ago. Yeah.
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 So I missed that. I was painting shoes when you guys talked about that, so I totally missed it.
And no extra cost, by the way.
Yeah, no extra cost.
Yeah.
And we will talk about stretch goals too, which are at no extra cost. And like I said, it's a lot of money for those toolings. But one of the things I've also noticed, I'm gonna circle back on it. You mentioned the metal pipe, right, in the front. I love that you turned that. You put a little. That's like a little steering thing, right, for like
Yes.
pressure.
The
Little red.
valve.
If
The
you
valve.
look at it, it's nice and red. It's right here. I'm gonna circle it right there. We'll zoom in even closer. How's that?
Yep.
I think that's really fun. And we have the ladder here. We're not getting extra support with the ladder, but that actually goes up to, there's a sewer lid up top, right?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
we'll see that here in a moment. So not only have we looked at half of this, right? We've looked at half of this already, and we've got like unique walls with the break over here on the left side. We saw that in one of the previous images. We've also got the extra pipe, which is modular. You can move that pipe, right? You can put it wherever you want. But then we also have the correct me if I'm wrong, it's a softer plastic, like a layout. It's like of the like the sewage and stuff, right? That's kind of like almost like a mat.
You're right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
It's
Sorry, I'm
actually
a little bit of a delay. So, and we also have in the back modular steps, which me personally, big fan of that. Because as a toy photographer, you don't want flat. You want body. You want people, like I'm already looking at Michelangelo jumping over the railing. Like I'm already picturing a lot of cool stuff. So this is great for people that want to take photos. For me, having the NECA one, you get everything that comes with it. Like you get all those extra accessories. You make it the living room, but then like mentally for a lot of us, specifically me, I know for a fact because I'm me. I can never now look at that as a living room. So I know that those pieces go in there. If I take them out and I don't feel right taking photos, something like this as a photographer, I think like I'm looking at this as like, oh, I can get all these little accessories. I can 3D print accessories and put them in here. I can make it whatever the hell I want. So I think that's incredible. Now you did originally, we talked a little bit about doing, not we, but and I've heard you in the past talk about doing accessories and such for it, but is that still on the table, or are you leaving this as an open, and I say accessories, I mean like a couch and stuff. Are you still leaving, are you going to essentially go with this as we see as our mainstay?
Well, before I answer that question, I'd like to circle back just a few seconds when you mentioned about the steps and all these things that you really love. It's all credit to our Argentinian sculptor, Julian Cabada, who actually had the liberty to just design this thing. So kudos to him for what you are seeing and liking. All right.
Awesome. Yes.
So
Yeah, I love that.
yeah. So regarding your question about all these other accessories, we try to really not step on the toes of IP, right? So if we actually did the exact furniture, that would get us some emails to stop doing it.
I've
So I
got them. I know
believe that
about it.
my trail of thought towards this is that there are lots of creators making stuff in 112 that could mimic what you need to create your environment. of course, for us, we could go into the realm of making all these furnitures. But again, like I said, I need to make sure that what we're doing sells enough units, because again, we're not doing 3D prints, we're doing actual tooling. So I
Yeah,
need to know for sure that if I make a sofa that it looks different from the actual proprietary sofa shape, that this sofa is going to sell that many pieces, etc., etc., right? A sofa, a chair, a TV screen, and all, the whole shebang.
right.
So in terms of me putting out stuff, it really depends on my analysis of the market reaction, the fans, what they want, and then really trying it out. And then once if it works, I'm given the confidence to try again. So for example, we just did the ramen racer, and we really do not know what to expect,
Right.
and that got us like 2,000 units sold, and that gave us the confidence to do the next vehicle, which we have done. However,
Yeah.
the next vehicle, like the tanks and the vans, it did not reach those numbers after Ramen Racer, right? As with this particular project, we would have thought that if we got this out, at least we'll get 1,000 pieces easy. But right now we're sitting on 400 plus,
Yeah.
so it's a little bit not what we expect. But there could be many explanation for this, right? The fact that it has gone on a year without it having the hype, the fact that there are lots of people doing their taxes now. They may not have the funds at this point of time of February. Many things. But we are hopeful that through your reach in your community, that we can bump those numbers up so that we can get to, again, we're not asking for 9,000 pieces, 10,000. We're just asking for 1,200. And by the way, whether or not we get to that amount, we're still making this regardless. So it's not a crowd fund. Let's get this very clear. It's not a
Yeah.
crowd fund. We are committed to make this, but it will help us in a better way if we knew that we had 1,000 units pre-sold versus let's make 1,000 and hope to sell the other 600.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, let's just cut to the chase. I mean, I'm a
yeah,
business guy. I know how this is. Uh, the more people will buy, the more you'll have an opportunity to do cooler stuff in the future because you'll have the funds to do it. It's as simple as that. People like to think that companies like us are like in it to make as much money as possible and then walk away. But we reinvest this, all of us. I know you do. All of us reinvest this money that we make, this extra money, and we put it towards cooler stuff, and it helps us also bring prices down. That's one of the best things that you can do is bring prices down, especially in the economy. You touched upon a good thing. We've talked about this. Now, there's been no decisions yet, but you and I talked about we've got 7 days left on this is what we have. So one more week, and we're at about you're about 406, I think, roughly around there. And I had mentioned that, yeah, I mean, it's right after Christmas, the holidays, people spent money, and we're also in tax season. So I'm going to do my best to convince you. Give it a little bit longer. Let's get some people in. I think it'll be great. And that's the other part that I like. It's not a Kickstarter. Like we're getting it. So there's no one's dreams are going to be crushed when we get this. So we haven't even talked about price yet. So I think that's one of the best parts about all this is that none of us have even brought up pricing yet. So check it out. So we are on the official website right now. So let's talk about the pricing of the NECA one. So the NECA one is one living room. You do have to get all the accessories. Yeah. You get mixed media stuff, you get plastics, but that thing was $300 before shipping. $300 before shipping. Look at someone must know we're recording. We sold some more. This is $250. You get essentially two of those living rooms. You get two top pieces, which is a street scene. And the best part about it is, correct me if I'm wrong, this is a little bit bigger, right?
yeah, it's an inch bigger on the depth. We chose to do it like a nice round number because each piece is broken into two. You
Right.
assemble the street section, the sewer floor as four parts to form a full set. You can actually opt to have it if you want and bring the wall closer because it's all modular. So yeah, we in order for that to happen, we just thought that the numbers we should just make it a round number. So that was a internal decision that we made, and also not to blatantly verbatim copy the exact size of the necker piece. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. So you're getting so here's what we're doing. You're saving $50 if you get it in early, right? So I also want to make it clear you are working with some retailers, smaller businesses to hopefully pick up some of the stock, but it will be at a higher price, the normal $299.95. Is that correct?
Yes, Gary. So the reason why I'm pushing this is because, as I've always mentioned, okay, we want to give our customers, the B2C, the exact direct fans that support us. I'm sure there's many people other place that would buy a ramen toy product because they saw it on BBTS, they saw it on another retailer. Yes, but they may not be the actual followers that follows us on a daily basis on Facebook, on our Instagram, on our YouTube videos. So yes,
Yeah.
those are customers, yes, but they are not the ones that's maybe receiving the exact uh, incentive, so to speak. So I want to give those customers the incentive by offering the early bird. And the early bird, what it essentially means is that we're giving the best possible price. Yes, I understand that some people, if after you add the shipping, oh, it's the same, or to another country, it's way more expensive for shipping, and then it
Right.
doesn't really make it that cheap. But again, I'm talking about the 80-20 rule. I can't satisfy everybody, but I'm trying to satisfy 80% of the people. And this 80% of people, I want to give them the best possible price. And
Yeah.
how retail price is dictated or calculated is because you need to have enough margin so that when you give the discount to the distributor or the reseller, they will find that this margin is good enough for them to make some money. So if I were to set this at a low retail price at 250, and when the retailers want that discount, it's either I make a loss on each unit or they are not going to take it because the discount does not make it incentive for them to sell my product. So it
Yeah.
has to be priced at 300 so that when I do the discount for the distributors and retailers, they are able to have that margin. Now, if I do this right now, then it would cost, again, it's difficult to balance both, but I'm doing my best. If I were to do a concurrent sales solicitation with the distributor and myself doing this early bird, they'd be wondering, why are you selling at 250, right? When you are selling to me at. So
Yeah.
this early bird price is just there to get everybody the best possible price that I can give to the end consumer. And then once this early bird ends, then I will send the sales out to the BBTS and who else, and then they will see that, oh, I'm also selling for 300, and they are selling for 300. Okay, that's fair. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying? So this is where I'm coming from.
We'll talk about our boy Steven, who's not here with us. Steven is the other podcast guy that I do this with. Steven is the most impatient guy ever. That man places an order and he expects it to be delivered the day before he placed the order. He's the worst. So this is what I take from this, right? So once again, it's a respect thing. You respect your consumers. You're doing your best to take a loss. Like you are taking a net loss to get a better price to everybody. Like, yeah, of course you're making money off this, but not as much money as you could have made. We learned this with our job. You could have probably put this at $300 and you'd still be at 409 right now. Like, yeah, I promise you that if people want it, they will pay it. But you are DTC. That means direct to consumer. So Ace makes these personally. Ace puts them all. No, Ace gets these all made, and then they are shipped to. So they're directly shipped from the. Are they directly shipped from the factory, or are they shipped to you and then to the customer? How are you doing that?
Yes, we actually have our own factory facility.
Yeah,
So once it's done, it just goes to the logistics company, and then they handle the rest and bring it onto the boat to the customers.
yeah. So you're getting it earlier. You are because if you sell the BBTS, which is like I like a lot of smaller companies. You know, we work with like Toy Stalker and Last Toy Store and Big Bad Toy Store is like the other one that I recommend. I'm not a big fan of Entertainment Earth, but they have $4 shipping, right? So like if they respect their $4 shipping, you're probably realistically as a consumer, you're waiting probably 4 to 6 months after everybody's got it for BBTS to essentially get it and ship it out because it's got to go to their warehouse. They have to inventory it. They got to do all their stuff. And then they got to go through a backlog and then ship it out, which is manpower. This is my personal experience. Everybody complains about the delays on shipping with stuff with them. And that's just what I would say. Like you're looking at like 4 to 6 months after everybody's having fun taking photos and displaying these things. So go direct and get it because you will get it much earlier. I guarantee it from a retailer. If you're a retailer, still buy it. Still buy extras from Ace. I'm telling you right now. But that's just what I see. And as a business person, we are also direct to consumer, but we have it shipped to us and then we ship it out. We inspect it and do all that fun stuff. But we also work with retailers and we also work with what you said. You have your price that you have to give them and you have to give them wiggle room to them to make a profit. They have to see if it's worth it. And direct consumer just makes it so that you can do the best price possible to customers. And once again, it's respect. It's a respect to the consumer. So I like that. One thing I do want to highlight is that you do, it's a pay up front. So it's when you pre-order this, you are sending your money off. Now that is a super huge pro. And then for some people, maybe a negative. You're pre-ordering something and then you just got to wait for it to show up. And you're like, I gave you my money. Where the hell is it? Well, perfection takes time, but you gave them the money. And then when it does show up, you feel like you got a gift. I love that because like, you're like, there's no worry. I've already paid for it. It shows up and then you're very happy because it feels like someone just gifted it to you. So I think that's awesome. As of right now, do you have a timeline? Do you have an expectation of what time you want these to be delivered? So given all the factory stuff and the production, when do you estimate? Now, this is an estimate, everyone. This is not a guarantee. So if whatever Ace says, don't go DMing him the day after his date is. I'm the PR customer service guy. It's a nightmare. When do you expect these to show up at people's doorsteps or your goal?
So the target is to have this in your home by Christmas this year.
Okay. So we've got about 10 months, around 10 months of production, which lines up with what I expected for a lot of these production items. We're going to, while we're talking, we'll have Ace here. We'll have a look at some of the stuff there. Now, what you're showing off here is a lot that we talked about. Now, you got these little nubs, I call them, on the top of these walls.
Mm-hmm.
Now, does the top of the street clip onto those?
Yes. So the knobs are there for the purpose of clipping on the street section. And when we were at this Singapore Comic Con doing this prototype, we had discovered even more areas that we need to have more anchor points. So, for example, the exact corners would have new anchor points so they can actually clip on the corners and ensure it does not flare up. That was what we experienced during this prototype.
Is that where it kind of bows a little bit? Like,
oh no, look at the corners. There's no. If you look at the knobs, it's not at the corner. So if you lock something in at that position, the corner might still flare up a little bit because of the weight that you put on. Right.
I know
so you
exactly
need to
what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yep.
So this is a prototype, everyone. This isn't the final. We've already talked about that.
Yeah.
But look at that. Like, that's just so cool. I love taking night shots with my figures, like the Rat King and stuff from Ninja Turtles. I think that's the coolest. And these little accessories you're showing off right now, these have a 3M sticker on the back of them, right? Is that how they're going to
not exactly 3M, but there'll be double-sided tape that does not harm the surface. So that's the only way to do it, because if we have more holes in the walls, then you are sort of resigned to that position. We want you to be able to move it around. Yeah. So the other way to do it, of course, is magnets. But then again, you have magnets all over the place. That's not good as well. So the good old double-sided tape is the way to go.
Yeah, and I agree. And we just talked about that, but we also you're showing right now how the light goes into the back, so you can replace the battery on that, which is great. So those are dedicated holes in there, but I assure everybody you're going to want to leave them there. Like that is the ideal spot for those. I watched this when you did it live and I was loving it, by the way. And it's just cool to watch it again while we're talking. I'm trying to pay attention to you and not just watch this again because I think this is great. Now, I see that the floor, right? The floor on here is in between the two walls. Is that how the final's going to ship, just like that?
In
The gray
between the
floor.
two walls. Oh
So
yeah,
right
that's
now,
right.
yeah, we'll
Yeah,
pause.
so
Yep, right
so
here,
this
right in
is
the middle area.
a part that I guess if you wanted it to be exactly the floors going horizontal and the walls on top, that actually that is the reason why it has to be like that, because it has to be modular. If it's long, then I can't modular it in the way I want it to be.
Right.
So this is a design consideration. So it may look a bit weird, but that's the way we have it.
Yeah. And as everybody's seeing right now, this is him just kind of moving things around on it. You can see that based on what we were looking at earlier, things are being moved around a little bit, which is cool. One thing that I was personally bummed out about, but I'm not anymore because I'm buying it all, was that when you're doing your street area, because originally I was only going to do the street. Because I have the ones down here. I'm like, I don't need the rest, but I'm going to get them anyway because I like photos. Is that you can see right here what we're looking at now? There are additional accessories for having Super M.U.S.K. You get the ladder and stuff, and then the extra door. Is that correct? So like it's only available when you get the Super M.U.S.K, get the extra right side accessory
Yes,
for the
and
street.
that again is another marketing decision. We want to push people towards our main course menu, and that's why we did it that way.
Yeah.
So full transparency, they you can be saying, why can't I just get that part of the street section by itself? Well, because we want you to get the whole thing to support the whole menu. So
Yeah. And I
no need to
just
hide,
noticed on that piece, it's textured on both sides for the steps. So there's bricks on one side, bricks on the other. So no, you can display it however you want. And there's no like flat, ugly side. So back to what you said, painting the back of the door. I think that's
Yeah.
great. I think that's awesome too, by the way. That's cool because I already know Jonathan, Nostalgia Unbox, is going to be doing inserts that you're going to be able to put in there.
Yeah.
Right here, we're looking at some stretch goals. Am I correct?
Mhm.
So these are stretch goals that are currently live. So this is why I wanted to do this personally because I believe in this and I want these. So you people need to pre-order this so we can get this cool ass stuff. Like seriously, I 3D model, I 3D print, I do all that fun stuff. If you know me, you've seen my photos. But like I'm looking at my stuff right now, like it's cool, but this is cooler. And essentially, in air quotes, it's free. All you got to do is just back the project and you're getting free stuff that's cool. Ace, I am noticing on these on the street signs right now where you have the green where the names of the streets would go. Are those going to
Mhm.
have names on them or are they going to be just green like we saw?
Yeah, I think we're gonna have some stickers that you can apply on those things,
Cool.
so that the option is there for you.
That'd be really fun.
Yeah.
I think that's a great idea. I mean, leave it blank because we don't want. I mean, give us the options of what you might want to do. I think that's really, really cool. But yeah, one of the accessories is the phone booth with a working light inside of it. You've got
Yes.
a street sign, street lamp with a working light in it. You've got the mailbox. And did you
Yep.
say in this that the mailbox is planning on being like a two piece where it does open up, or is it going to be a
Yeah, it
solid?
opens up the little lid. So on our prototype, it doesn't. But
Right.
after looking at again, credit to Duarte Studios,
Yep.
where he has his mailbox with a little lid opening. So I plagiarized his design and I put that lid opening for everybody.
Let's get Cody out of here. Cody ain't here. I love Cody. I've been texting him all day. Uh, yeah, I love Duarte Studios. I forgot how to
Yeah,
pronounce. I was on a podcast with him, which is how I met him. He is awesome. I
yeah.
love the stuff he does. So that's really really
And that's
cool.
the thing. Sorry to interrupt, Gary.
Go ahead.
Creators like Duarte, and I'm sure there are other people as well. They are the ones that's really feeding the community with the energon that helps us with our collection, right? Without
Right.
these pieces from them, our photography, our collection is that much lesser. But the problem is that they can't produce at the level of a manufacturing. So I'm always trying to work with all these excellent talents to try to get them invested if they would like to, and then produce on a more scalable level, so that there are more fans able to get their stuff in less time. So that's but part of my blue sky sort of thing.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I
very
mean, it
important.
really boils down to respect. You know, a lot of these creators can be like, "Oh, fuck Ace, he's stepping on our toes." You know, that he's taking away our sales of our handmade things or whatever, which we all do. But it's not that. It is you are including them. You know, you're reaching out, and a lot of these people are taking part in this project, which I think is, like I said, I feel like that's the word is respect that you have for the community and the idea. At Bull Air's our actual mission statement. When I started there, so a little bit of backstory for first timers or for you, Ace. I worked for Microsoft for 13 years,
Wow.
and they laid me off. And that's when I started working with my friend Tom, who made shoes. He was my tattoo artist before, and then he, switched careers. But anyway, the first thing I said when I started there, I says, we need to have a mission statement, and we got to stick to it. And the mission statement is passion over profit. Never
Mm.
let profit get in the way of the passion that you're doing, because then it just turns into a job, and then the stuff that everything suffers, like your quality, your design, and everything. And in a lot of ways, you are exactly like us. You see something that another company might be doing, in our opinion, is not um, respectful of the consumer. Some of the time, sometimes you think that maybe I can do something like that, similar, but better. Ramen Racer, obviously, like leaps and bounds better. And then you do the right thing of making it about community. So, uh, I mean, still buy the stuff from NECA, because you're putting your NECA stuff in here. You're putting your action figures. I got, rocking Bert and Ernie today. Just finally found these little guys. But they're not going to be going to this display. This isn't their forte. But um,
If I may
this
just
is
interrupt a
something you
little
put.
bit here while you get your thought. So we're definitely not trying to oppose anybody or show
Right.
anybody the middle finger, as they said. NECA does great stuff, and they've been doing great stuff for decades, right? It's not
Yeah.
just 2 years ago, 3 years ago. We are 4 years ago. We came up 4 years ago, and we're just 4 years old. NECA is doing great stuff, and they will continue to do great stuff because we are not going to replace anybody. The stuff that you love is being produced by NECA and other companies, right? Because they have the resources, the avenues to generate all these things that you want. For us, we're just trying to fill some holes, because if we
Right.
were tasked to deliver all these things that you want, it's going to take us another 20 years. So it's not, it has to be understood that we are here to fill the gaps, and that is good enough for us.
Yeah.
We don't intend to go like gangbusters and huge. We don't want that. And like you said, what's that?
It's
Passion over
passion over profit.
profits.
Yep.
It's in a way. I got some thoughts on this as well, if you allow me. So
Yeah.
some people are saying that if we go on passion alone, we might be blinded, and then the passion becomes a laborious task to work, and you lose that passion. So that must never happen. It's like trying to rev your vehicle to a point where you don't stress it, and then it loses its functionality. So we are always cautious of that. At the same time, I've read this quote before, but I forgot the exact words. It's basically saying that true contentment comes from doing what you love, and then the money thing will take care of itself.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. You said it way better than me, because I'm thinking back on what I said, and I was like, that came out a little bit wrong. That was not what I intended. But yeah, that's 100%. You couldn't have said it better. We're just here in the middle, and here in the U.S., the big thing we talk about is capitalism, right? And it's always good to have, we'll say, competition, because that encourages, let's just say theoretically, like Trevor sees this and he goes, that's a great idea. That's a better price. And then they work towards a better price. And then that helps drive costs down. And then that will in turn give you better ideas, and then drive costs down elsewhere with these factories, because now the factories might be competing. I think it's great.
Case in point, sorry again. Case in
Yeah.
point, to your point, Jeddah came up with affordable Street Fighters, and
Yeah.
then look at what happened to
With
Storm
Storm.
Collectibles. They're doing a same price here, right? So the
Yeah.
winner is the consumer.
Yeah. Yeah. Jada, I bought those. I have them. And then I saw the Storm, and Alpha 3 is my favorite. And I'm like, yes. also working with hopefully soon working with Capcom as well. So we just gave them our pitch deck that they've been waiting a year on.
Great.
So we've talked a lot about this. I left this up for everybody to ponder while we were talking about our stretch goals. We've got at 500 a fire hydrant, at 650 we get the mailbox with opening lever. So actually, it was true. Like, I mean, you said it was, and I was making sure that I remembered it from the video. Street lamp with the LED, and then the phone booth with the LED as well. So we got 800 and 1200 for those as well. But these are reserved, correct? I'm sure we're clear. If you order Super M.U.S.K. So if you have to sell those numbers of Super M.U.S.K. in order to unlock those, is that correct?
That's correct, Gary. So again, we're trying that marketing strategy. Again, nothing to hide. We're trying to incentivize people to get. It's almost like making it fun, right?
Yeah.
Initially, my idea was all these four items will be packaged as a bundle given to free if we reach a certain number of Super M.U.S.K soap. But I just segregated everything to like smaller milestones to make it fun, right?
Yeah.
I could easily just do everything at the because at 1200 you're getting everything. So why not just put 1200 everything, right? So the whole idea is to make it fun. This whole
Yeah.
thing was supposed to have fun, and that's
Yeah.
the reason why.
Yeah. Well, that's going to encourage like people like me that's going to go on the party wagon or the TMNT NECA figures or our TMNT. We have it's called the official figure collectors, AFC. There's a bunch of groups that I run.
Mm,
Um, and like this encourages us in the fun of like rooting it and, kind of, kind of like sports, rooting for your team and like trying to get other people involved to help out and, recruiting a lot of people. So yes, it's totally right. And at the end of the day, like, yeah, you could have just made them, but at the same time, that's also going to then cut into your costs. And then maybe we couldn't have gotten this $50 off pre-order incentive. So like, that's also a lot to think about. The reason I brought that up with the unlocks is because if for whatever reason 250 might be too much for you, look at this. So although you're not getting like the TV, mind you, remember the NECA set didn't come with the TV. You had to buy another $60 accessory set that had that included in it. So although you're not getting all these crazy accessories in this, you are theoretically getting. I'm going to count it. We've got the two lights. We got two accessories there. We've got the breakable wall, which is great. We got some mousers, and then you've got the pipe across the top can be counted as an accessory. And then you've got the sewer lid in the back, another accessory. But this is 1/3 the price of what NECA did. And I think it's great. Of course, we're not getting a foam core board for the top. We don't need that. We really don't. But it's $100. Like, I think that's awesome. And if and if you're like, well, maybe I'll buy two of them. If you want to do the NECA thing, put your party wagon if you bought one inside of there. Now you're at $200. Spend the extra $50. Go for Super M.U.S.K. Then you got a whole top to play with.
exactly.
And you've got the whole thing. So I originally had said, like I said it multiple times already, I was only going to do the street section. This was all I cared about originally. I was like, I've got my turtle stuff already. I love this. And there's a creator that I met at DesignerCon this past year. I'm forgetting who they are, and I feel really bad about it. But they are making essentially the same thing. They do the same thing, but theirs are hand painted. So
Mm,
they're having them produce, and then the owner creator is hand painting them. My buddy Matt goes by Machu Toy, great toy photographer. He
wow.
was there with him. Hopefully, if he watches this, he puts that down in the chat because I don't want to be disrespectful to who it was. But if I'm right, it was half of this. It was only one side of this ace. Um,
Mhm.
and it was $75 or something like that. So
That's the thing
essentially,
because it's hand painted and it's done by somebody. His time is what you're paying for.
exactly,
So you can respect that, but that is the fact of the matter between a mass-produced item and a customized bespoke production.
exactly. So for something like that, respect that person. If that's something that you love, definitely go for that at ground level. But if you're looking for more of a value, if you're just a normal consumer and you're just kind of in this to collect, and we'll just say you don't have any allegiance, you're getting this for $90, right? I'm just glowing right now. My lord. $90 for just the street itself. That's awesome. I was gonna buy 2 of those, but then you're at $180, and I'm just gonna spend the extra $70 to get the freaking rest of it.
Exactly. So
You
that's
know?
where the whole menu thing we're guiding you towards the best price.
Yeah,
We're showing you the comparisons so that you can compare. For example, if you're buying a new phone, right? There's always comparing the specs between the old phone or a competitive phone, right? So same thing here. We're showing you the values of each item, and then you decide for yourself that this final one is actually the best specs of everything. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And then not going to say I saved the best for last. We started with the best,
Yeah.
but we'll say the best of both worlds for 160.
Yeah.
So you're looking at a savings here because if you bought these separately, it was
Yes.
$100 and $90. So that's
Yes.
$190.
Yes.
I can math, everyone. You're saving $30 if you buy them together here as one. But once again, now you're at $160. Another $90 doubles us up plus some extra accessories.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm at. Now, the last thing that I wanted to talk about in this, because this was an original solicitation, but you have changed, which I think was smart. Originally, you had 2 options for colors. You originally had like a tune version, which was more of a lighter color, and then there was
Right.
like this one right here. That decision was made to essentially narrow it down. You're already given so many options here.
Yeah.
Those extra paint apps, those different paint apps do have their own issue, I guess we'll say, with production and getting them out properly to the right people. Because God forbid you send out a tune one to someone that ordered a regular one, and then you got to receive into
Yeah.
Donnie's lab dial situation in your head. But what I
The
like
fact of the
about
matter, Gary, is again, we listened to feedback, and at that point of time, there was a lot of chatter about can we get a tune version, because that's what NACA's sewer is about, the tune version. Okay. And then we have people saying that, oh, I want realistic because I want to display with my Marvel Legends. So at that point of time, I decided to offer 2. But having sat down and discussed with my team, this offering of too many choices, even though it's 2 choices, it's one too many. It
agreed.
does not help us, because to make a tune version, we have to inject it in that tune colors. To make the so-called realistic version, we inject it in that color, and already you can see that what we foresaw is kind of true, because now we're actually struggling to actually get the numbers out. So imagine if that 400 is further divided into 200 of this and 200 of that, it's a great strain for us to convince our factory partners, even though it's our own facility, because
Yeah.
cost is cost, right?
It,
You
it,
can't
it, yeah.
expect, if you're doing it yourself, it doesn't mean it's cheaper, because you still have to pay for the materials and the labor and everything. So to dive to dissect it into 2 options, meaning more work for us, and like you said, we could have the error of sending the wrong thing, etc., which we already did with the ramen racer, right? A black and orange. Some logistics actually sent the orange card to people who ordered the black card for some reason, even though it's clearly marked on the
Yeah.
carton. So yeah,
It
there's actually
It's hard. That stuff does get hard. Like when you're doing it over and over again, you get into a rhythm, and like sometimes mistakes happen. I did shipping for our company for a while, and I've made mistakes. I've sent the wrong shoes to the wrong people. I put the label on the wrong box because I was talking to somebody, and like people are human error. So I commend you for doing that, making it easier for everybody, and essentially, in my opinion, opening it up, like you said, to like Marvel Legends. You're opening this up to more collectors, not just TMNT. Nothing stops somebody from turning like the underground into like some kind of like base for like Electro if from Spider-Man or something like that. So I think that's really cool.
Yeah, you said it right, Gary.
Yeah. But like where I was going with it is that as I'm a painter, I do a lot of like customs and I do a lot of painting. I've done my own dioramas at this price. So when I buy stuff, a lot of times it's like when I buy like a Mythic Legions and it's $70, that's gonna stay the way it looks. But when I buy a Mythic Legions that's $26, I don't mind painting the armor. you could just put some paint on this yourself as a consumer. You,
Yep.
you take this outside, hit it with some spray paint, or you do some dry brushing if you know what that is. You can change anything on this, and you won't, in my personal opinion, because I don't feel bad because I'm not damaging it. I'm enhancing it and I'm making it better for what I would want it for. So the way that you went about it, I think was way smarter than doing the two options. So
Thank
I
you.
want to, I respect that idea. And I, personally, when I get it, I am going to be doing graffiti and stuff on the brick myself. I'm gonna get like, Mad Hatter sucks and like,
Yeah.
Johnny Nostalgia rules with a Z,
Yeah.
um, hopefully they watch this. At least Near, I know Near will
They
watch.
better watch it. Yeah.
But that's just, the way I look at it. So hopefully, people see that you do have options on this and you're not, my personal opinion, you're not locked into exactly what you're looking at. You can play with this all you want, with paint and all that good stuff. Or if you have a friend that does it, like Near does with Oscar, he just sends it to Oscar and Oscar paints it for him down over in California. You can do that. So that's why I'm more excited about this, is that I can do that. So I'm just kind of gloating. I feel like I don't want anybody to look at this and be like, "Oh, you're just sucking up to Ace." Like this is
Oh,
all like off the cuff. This straight up happened after Friday when you were on with those two, and I was like, "Shit, I'm really excited about this all of a sudden." So that's really really cool. So before we wrap it up, I think we hit on some really good points. Is there anything, Ace, that you wanna say to the community? Is there something that I missed? Is there anything you wanted to talk about that was special about this? Like, let me know.
yeah. So maybe I can just go through again the whole thought process of the project, right? I was at PowerCon 2023. I was able to see the actual sewer layer in the flesh to assess it. I saw what was lacking and how I could improve it. And then the whole premise was really hearing the chatters in the community about it being too expensive. That was all. And
Yeah,
I told my team, let's try to set ourselves a mission to see exactly how much it really costs, right? Or rather, a ballpark. We don't know NECA's cost for sure. They got licensing costs. They got a bigger organization, so we cannot know what their cost is. But I'm just trying to see pound for pound how much we could do it with the tooling and the production, and that's what we did. And then once we were able to come up with the prototype, it was a bit of a hype because we had two live streams again with the Mad Hatter and 3POA, and that was all good. But when I was actually going about to finalize the designs on the 3D, that took some time because there's a simple fact that this 3D is actually huge in terms of the file.
yeah,
We're manipulating it one to one scale. It's not like a small model. So whatever wall thickness this thing is going to be the same megabytes or gigabytes in the computer. So at a point of time, we're experiencing some issues with our computer, not able to manipulate the file. So we can't really do the work properly. It's just taking too long. So we outsource this 3D to another third party, right? And then, well, they sort of was that wrote us a rain check or something like that. Like
yeah,
that's
yeah,
saying,
yeah, yeah,
right? So they basically just screwed up. They did not do the work for the time taken, and then that was like 3 or 4 months down the road when I was, chasing them for the files because we need to get this going. And that was again from around March or May, April or May of last year that we had to redo the whole thing ourselves. And that actually took the time as our restart 0 point. So for
yeah,
us from then to actually the prototype in Singapore in December was the good, time taken for actually making the whole thing work. So that was the whole story behind the hiatus of this project. So coming back, we are hopeful that I mean this project is going to go nonetheless. Again, it's not a crowd fund. We're doing it, and hopefully after the early bird, we can now release this information to the other distributors and retailers. Will probably pick up enough orders. But again, like I said, I don't want the case of this thing being on eBay for $1,500 after it's released. just like the Ramen Racer, it was 175 at one point, 250, and then you see it on eBay for like $500, $600,
Yeah,
$800, right?
I
People
saw
are
that.
buying
Yeah,
it.
I saw
So
that.
so basically, if you can share this video, and we're going to extend the early bird. Right now, we're extending it to the 5th of March, but probably we can do it even further. And if we can just do the whole month of March, that'll be great. I will discuss this with my team because we need to assess the pros and cons. So once we can have that decision, I will announce it. Obviously, you'll be the among the first to know. All right, to extend it way as best as we can. And then once that's done, we have to go back to the $300 price tag so that BBTS can also feel that they are also selling at the same price. And then we will strive to have the test shots available for display at Joe Fest in June, which I'll be going to. And then in New York Comic Con in October, I'll probably see you, Gary. And then
Probably. Yeah,
I
I'll
can
be
I
there.
can
I'm
bring
walking
over
around.
a set of pre-pro to show you. But by the time it might be too late for early bird backers because there's no more early bird. It's just the early bird backers waiting for their Christmas present come December this year.
Yeah, and it's awesome. Like everything seems to be really, really well. And like what you had brought up, I didn't want to interrupt you, but you're saying like, someone you sent someone the file to work on it or whatever the case may be, and essentially, just didn't work out. These are production things that people don't realize. We work in a day and age where we can do this kind of stuff. It's a lot easier. We're air quoting that because it's still one of the hardest things to do. But you're relying on someone else to do a job that you're paying them for. And anybody that knows my story with work is that I fired 3 factories this year that did stuff wrong, have to have it remade. It's still being remade to this day, stole the money from us. Like they refused to remake them as a whole thing. So people don't realize like, this isn't Hasbro. You're not Hasbro. You're not Mattel. You don't have the power to swing the hammer, I'll say, when stuff is not going the way that it goes for them. Like we are small companies. You're a small company. You are working tirelessly to get something that you care about out the door. And when roadblocks happen, when there's a hiccup, it really slows things down and you got to figure it out. So people need to understand and realize that like Ramen Toy is not like lining shelves with figures and Target right now. Like he's a direct consumer and these things do take time. So this reinvigorated me obviously after the live stream. And I'm hoping this does to everybody else because I want that lamppost specifically. I love lampposts, so we better hit that goal on Super M.U.S.K. So I thank you again, Ace, and I thank Mad Hatter Reviews and Jonathan from Nostalgia Unboxed for really setting this up. Like big shout out to those guys. I'm really happy they're able to do this. I joke that I'm the matchmaker. I'm the one that got them together on the Party Wagon podcast 2 years ago. And it's like a match made in heaven. They're 2 little lovebirds now. So I'm just hoping this kind of goes the limit, and share this if you can. Share this with our friends over at YHS, which is Yes Have Some Podcast. They are much bigger than us. Epic Tales from the Sewer, Turtle Tracks. Share them with everybody in the Turtle community. Share them with everybody in the Marvel community. Get as many people on board as this as possible. I'm looking at it right now. So I have the Biker Mice from Mars license. I could totally just like put the Biker Mice from Mars on this thing with their motorcycles. Like, I think that's cool as hell. I might pitch this to Nacelle. Be like, yo, Nacelle, buy some of these and sell them on your
Michael, right?
website. Or I'll hit him up. I'll hit Mike up and be like, hey man, do it.
Yeah.
So really just support small companies doing really cool things. And it's getting done regardless. So I thank everybody once again for jumping in this. And I'm genuine. I'm transparent. This is my straight up feeling about this. I am excited, and I'm getting one myself. So I'm paying for it. I did tell Ace. I said I want nothing. Did I say that yesterday? I don't want a damn thing. I'm going to be paying for this. So
you're paying for the modular underground sewer command, hence the acronym.
Yes, that's what we didn't talk about. Has nothing to do with Elon. And then last but not least, we talked about pre-orders. We talked about paying up front. You do accept shop pay on your website. there are options for pay in four or pay over time for those who don't know, which you can do.
I really don't think we can allow pay over time because we're not a US company. So
Oh,
even though
that's the thing.
the app is there that allows pay over time, it does not qualify for us. We're not a US company.
Okay.
So
Scratch
yeah,
that, everyone. I didn't know that. I just saw the shop pay and I was super excited. Um, if it does happen, then you're in luck. But it's still 250, and that's incredible. Oh, you do also have PayPal and Google Pay. Oh,
yes,
everyone test it out. Go in, get it in your
yes.
cart, go look. I'm still paying off my NECA Street scene from the Tune one. I actually did a 6-month plan because I ordered so much shit from them. I was like, I'm not doing this, so I paid. I did pay over time. That stuff's great. But 250, I just added to my cart, and we'll go from there. So, hell yeah. Well, that's it. We'll wrap it up. Thanks again, everyone, for joining me. Ace, thank you again for joining me. Enjoy your day because you have just started the day. And we're gonna probably go to bed over here in New York.
Thank you, Gary. I appreciate it so much, and I'll see you soon.
Take it easy.